Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome back to Airdomo Global, your weekly guide to the world's most compelling real estate opportunities. I'm Stephanie Gillison.
And I'm Charles Bornheimer. Stephanie, let's start today with a question. If you could live anywhere in Europe, get the great food, the great weather, a great coastline, a good cost of living that works, and a property market that still has some headroom and opportunity, what are you going to pick?
Oh my gosh, people ask me this all the time. Where would I buy in Europe? And if I could only pick one country, this is not a hard one for me, okay? It's not a hard question at all because it's Portugal. And it's not just lifestyle buyers saying that anymore. It is investors, it's retirees, it's remote workers, families leaving London and New York. They looked at what their money buys in Portugal and they make that decision that now looks very, very smart. And Charles, people watching, you know me, I love my money. So I'm going to make a money decision.
Yeah, every time. So today, let's go deep into Portugal. Lisbon, Cascais, the Algarve, the emerging markets like Comporta, residency pathways that are some of the best in Europe actually right now. So everything we referenced today is going to be live on airdomo.com. Don't forget to check it out and get in touch if you're really truly interested in exploring. But let's get started.
Absolutely. And look, before Charles gives you all the numbers today, here's the thing to understand about Portugal. Very few countries offer even 2 or 3 of the advantages we're going to discover today and we're going to walk through. Portugal offers all of them at once in one small country. That combination is the whole story.
Yeah, and let's start with the foundation. Portugal is an EU member state. You buy with EU legal protections and title security. You transact in euros. Weather, 300 days of sunshine a year. Lisbon gets more annual sun than Rome or Madrid. Lisbon's airport flies direct to North America all over the place. Healthcare and broadband and infrastructure are, A1, excellent. And it's really 4 markets in one. We have Lisbon, Cascais, the Algarve, and Comporta. But Stephanie, the number one thing that actually changes minds is the cost piece.
Well, and here is the number one that changes minds about living in Portugal. A couple living comfortably in Lisbon, dining out, traveling, enjoying everything the city offers, spends roughly 30 to 40% less than they would spend living in London or Paris or Amsterdam. So you're not downgrading your life. You're getting European quality of life at a meaningful discount. And that's what people care about in this day and age, right?
Absolutely. So what about our markets? Let's talk about the specifics about the kind of the best places to focus your attention.
Absolutely. And let's dive in. Lisbon has had a remarkable transformation over the past decade. It went from beautiful but underappreciated European capital to one of the most sought after cities in the world. And it did this without losing its soul, so to speak. It still has the trams, the azulo tiles, the fado drifting out of the doorway, but it also has the Michelin-starred restaurants, a serious design scene, and one of Europe's most dynamic startup ecosystems.
Yeah, and here are some of the numbers behind that transformation. The premium neighborhoods like Chiado, Barrio Alto, Santos, and Avenida de Liberdade run about 6,000 to 12,000 euros per square meter. But there are some more accessible entry points available still too. We got Irio and Alvalde, Benfica, where 2 bedrooms still gets between the high 200s into the low 400s. So it's definitely still a lot of value to be found. For income buyers, well positioned rentals usually yield like 4 to 6%. So definitely favorable. But the comparison that really frames Lisbon is the one that Stephanie you use with your clients all the time.
Absolutely. And if you want to understand Lisbon property prices, here's the comparison that matters. A beautifully restored townhouse, real architectural character you cannot replicate, runs 500,000 to 1.5 million euros. A comparable property in London's Chelsea or in Paris is 3 to 4 times that price. Same continent, you guys, same legal protections, but a fraction of the entry point. Cascais is the town I find hardest to explain until someone has stood in there. It is 25 minutes by train from central Lisbon, and it feels like a completely different world. Whitewashed villas, a working marina, Atlantic beaches, and one of the most established international communities in Portugal. So if you want coastal living in Europe without giving up the city, this is the address. That's where you would find me, Charles, right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then here's the kind of the pricing that for that address. The Vias in Cascais or Estoril or Sintra starting around 800,000 euros. That is for a really solid 3-bedroom. You can get frontline ocean positions with full Atlantic views. That's going to be around the 3 million and above range. The Guicho corridor north of town has some of the really ritzy high-end private estates in Lisbon. And if you think of Lisbon as the urban luxury play, the coastal this is the coastal prestige address, and you can find both, by the way, on Airdomo. So don't forget to check it out if that's something that rings your bell.
Absolutely. And the buyer at the Cascais Tracks tells you everything. Someone who wants the highest quality of European coastal living, a real community, and the sophistication without pretension, right? The buyers who visit Cascais rarely end up looking anywhere else. They buy right there. And Charles, we also have to dive into the Algarve and the Comporta because we've got places right now here on Airdomo, and the Algarve is where Portugal's global real estate reputation was built, and it's for a good reason. It is arguably the finest coastal property market in the continental Europe. It's 150-kilometer stretch of Atlantic coastline with sea arches, golden limestone cliff, hidden cove beaches. This is where you see world-class golf and a warm, dry climate that draws buyers year after year. And so a lot of these photographs you're seeing that you think, where are these amazing golf courses? They're taken right there in the Algarve.
Yeah, and it's really not just one market. It's got 3 pretty distinct zones. Lagos in the west is kind of got the most character, I would say. It's a preserved medieval town. Its costs there are probably 3,500 to 7,000 euros per square meter. Villa Mora in the central Algarve, there's the kind of the resort and marina lifestyle. Vias there are going to run you 800K to 2 million, and probably has the most reliable rental return, I'd say. Then finally, the Golden Triangle, Quinta del Lago, Valle de Lobo, Amatil. This is the ultra premium address with Vias goes from 2 million to say 15 million and above, I would say.
Yeah.
But let's turn over to Comporta because this is a different look. And Stephanie, what's different about this one?
Comporta sits about 90 minutes south of Lisbon, and I honestly cannot think of anywhere else like it in Europe. You drive down through rice paddies and cork oak forests, and then the land just opens onto 30 kilometers of wild Atlantic beach with nothing built on it. Nobody has put up any high rises, and nobody ever will. There's restrictions there. What you find instead are all the boutique eco lodges, surprisingly good design, forward restaurant scene, and this amazing international crowd that discovered it quietly and want to keep it that way. They want to keep it where it's just going to be this amazing getaway for the rest of its course.
Yeah, and we know how that goes with places that are quiet and people want to keep quiet. That doesn't always stay that way. This is what's the reality of what's happening. The land and villa values have gone up a lot in the past decade. The premium villas are now in the 2 to 10 million euro range. Buildable plots are really heavily regulated there. There's protected pine wood zones that are hard to get anything built in there. So that really does set it up for scarcity and long-term value.
It does. And look, everyone wants to call Comporta Europe's Hamptons, right? And I think that kind of misses the point because 30 kilometers of wild Atlantic beach, rice paddies, cork forests, and almost no ability to build because it is protected pine wood zones. It keeps buildable plots extremely limited by regulation. So this is not manufactured exclusivity. It's genuine scarcity. And genuine scarcity is what protects that value and why it keeps going up in price.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's turn around now and talk about the residency and the tax story. Portugal has been one of the most actively courted destinations for international residents. It's certainly on everybody's radar. It's talked about quite a bit. There are three main programs that matter. Let's look at them each one at a time. First, let's think of the one the retirees should look at most closely. Which one is that, Steph?
Well, and that's the Portugal D7 visa. You need to show roughly 820 euros a month in stable passive income. So, like a pension, rental income, dividends off of stock. That's the threshold. With that, you get a 2-year residency visa that's renewable with a path to permanent residency after 5 years. So, for retirees from North America or the UK, it is one of the most accessible residency pathways in Europe.
Right. And so the next program, let's think about remote workers. What's going to work for them?
Well, if you work remotely and you have ever thought about Europe, the Portugal Digital Nomad Visa is the one to know. The requirement is stable income, so of at least 3,040 euros a month from remote work. If you are earning a reasonable professional salary from a company outside of Portugal, you're going to qualify. And you keep your job. You gain EU residency.
And last, Stephanie, there's one that has some kind of myths and outdated advice that seems to pop up all over the place online. Let's try to set the record straight. Let's clear it up.
Let me clear that up, because the biggest misconception about the Portugal Golden Visa is buying a home in Lisbon, Porto, or on the Algarve coast no longer qualifies. That route is closed. But what still works is a $500,000 euro investment in qualifying Portuguese funds, property in low density interior regions, or investment in research and in the arts. And if someone is still selling you the old version, you better walk away, because that's the scam. Okay.
Well, on the visa route, you want to have a qualified immigration attorney.
You got to call Airdomo. You got to reach out to us.
get in touch with Airdomo. We have the best in just about every market. Can make you the right introduction to get you on the right path for what your conditions require. But let's look at tax too. The big headlines are that the annual property tax runs to 0.3 to 0.45, 45% of registered value. That's among the lowest in Western Europe. Transfer tax at purchase is graduated, and the qualifying pension income gets a flat rate treatment. But there's one line of Portuguese tax law that almost nobody talks about. What's that one, Steph?
And here's the details about buying property in Portugal that almost never makes the headlines. There is no inheritance tax between spouses and direct descendants. So if you're thinking about multi-generational buying, right, family, if this home is meant to stay in your family, that single line of Portuguese tax law is so meaningful. It's an advantage most buyers discover far too late. So, if you buy in Portugal and you pass, Charles, your wife's not going to have to pay that big, strong tax like they would in the U.S.
She'll be very glad to know that, I think. So with bottom line, the advice with tax is the same as with immigration. Get a great attorney, get a great team around you, and absolutely Airdomo can help with that. So Portugal really rewards buyers who structure their residency and ownership options very, very thoughtfully, very carefully. There's a great opportunity there, but it does come with some forethought and foresight that you really need to get the best result for you. So putting it all back together, let me kind of play the skeptic for a second. Every European market has a pitch. Spain costs more in the premium zones. France brings complexity and higher taxes. Italy has a certain layer of bureaucracy and friction. Greece is a great prime market, but it's a bit smaller. Stephanie, the question buyers ask you: Has Portugal already seen its peak, or is there still some room to run?
Look, when people ask me whether Portugal property market has peaked, here's what I point to. Lisbon Prime has held its value through global volatility. The Algarve has year-round Northern European demand, creating a floor under prices. And Comporta is land constrained by regulation, which is the strongest support a luxury market could ever have. So different markets, same conclusion. This story in Portugal is not finished. It's still just getting started.
Right. Here's what we have on Airdomo right now. We have Lisbon apartments from the entry level up through the Chiado's premium inventory. Plus we got Cascade, we said, and historical seafront villas. Algarve properties all across the spectrum, from Lagos to the finally, kind of a lot of character, a lot of interesting detail homes to the bigger estates in Quito del Lago, and a lot of curated Comporta opportunities as well. And back to just why that team matters. Some of these areas carry their own very specific legal and due diligence processes, like whether it's in a historic center or there's other, as we talked about, protected zones. So it's really important to know each market individually, not just Portugal broadly.
Absolutely. Look, and if Portugal has been on your list, and for a lot of people watching, it has been on the list for years, the honest question to ask yourself is really simple. What are you waiting for? The lifestyle is there. The legal framework is there. The prices still make sense next to comparable European markets. And windows like Comporta do not stay open indefinitely. So look, the smartest buyers I have worked with all share one habit. They move before the moment becomes obvious to everyone else, okay? And Portugal has been obvious to a select group for years. It is becoming obvious to the rest of the world right now. That gap between select group and everyone else is where the opportunity always lives. So again, I love Wednesdays. We appreciate you. Thank you for joining us on Airdomo Global. Don't forget to head to airdomo.com to browse Portugal listings, connect with our concierge team, and start the conversation, because we would love to discuss Portugal in depth with you. And we're going to see you next week with another market, another opportunity. And until then, find your place in the world.
Yeah, and find it on Airdomo.